step into the glittering, treacherous world of the Tudor court, a world of silks and secrets, of power and passion. At its heart, a queen whose rise was as spectacular as her fall was brutal. This is the story of Anne Boleyn, a woman who changed the course of English history, only to become a victim of the very court she conquered. But was she a scheming adulteress, or the innocent victim of a king's ruthless ambition? Let's uncover the dark secrets behind the fall of Anne Boleyn. It's 1536. England is a nation holding its breath. King Henry VIII, a man whose desires have already fractured a 1,000-year-old faith, is growing impatient. His once all-consuming love for Queen Anne has soured. Why? The reason is as old as monarchy itself: the desperate need for a male heir. Anne had promised him a son, a legitimate Tudor prince to secure the dynasty. But after the birth of a daughter, Elizabeth, and a series of heartbreaking miscarriages, the king's eye began to wander. The charm and wit that had once captivated him now seemed like defiance. The political landscape was shifting, and Anne, once the center of Henry's universe, was fast becoming a political liability. Whispers started in the shadows, growing louder with each passing day. The king's chief minister, Thomas Cromwell, a man of calculating genius, saw an opportunity. He knew that to secure his own position and give the king what he truly wanted, a new wife, Jane Seymour, had to be removed. But how do you dispose of a queen? You don't just ask for a divorce, not again. You destroy her. The plot began to take shape with terrifying speed in late April 1536. It started with a court musician, a young man named Mark Smeaton. Under what historians believe was horrific torture, Smeaton confessed to having an affair with the Queen. His confession, likely forced and false, was the first domino to fall. It was the key Cromwell needed to unlock a floodgate of accusations. Suddenly, anyone close to the Queen was a suspect. Sir Henry Norris, a close friend of the King, was accused. Sir Francis Weston and William Brereton, prominent courtiers, were also implicated. The charges were shocking, designed to paint Anne not just as unfaithful, but as a woman of monstrous depravity. But Cromwell didn't stop there. He reached for the ultimate taboo, the most unthinkable crime, accusing the Queen's own brother, George Boleyn, Lord Rochford, of incest. This charge was the masterstroke of the conspiracy. It was so vile, so beyond the pale, that it was meant to leave no doubt in the public's mind of the Queen's inherent wickedness. It was a character assassination of the highest order, turning a beloved, if controversial, figure into a public monster. These men, all tied to Anne's circle, were systematically arrested. The net was closing, and the Queen, isolated within the walls of Greenwich Palace, was about to face the storm alone. On May 2nd, 1536, while watching a game of tennis, Anne Boleyn was arrested. The charge was high treason in the form of adultery, incest, and plotting the king's death. She was taken by barge to the Tower of London, entering through the same traitor's gate that so many had passed through before her, never to emerge free again. Can you imagine her terror and disbelief? This was the woman for whom Henry had broken with the Catholic Church, defied the Pope, and reshaped his kingdom. Now he was signing her death warrant. The trials that followed were a complete sham. They were show trials, designed for one outcome only: guilty. The accused men stood before a court that had already decided their fate. Despite their passionate denials, all except the tortured Mark Smeaton maintained their innocence. To the end, they were all found guilty and condemned to a traitor's death. Then came Anne's turn. She stood trial before a jury of her peers, led by her own uncle, the Duke of Norfolk. She defended herself with eloquence and intelligence, calmly and logically dismantling the flimsy evidence against her. But it was useless. The verdict was a foregone conclusion. She, too, was found guilty and sentenced to be either burned or beheaded at the king's pleasure. In his final chilling act of mercy, Henry decreed that his former love would be spared the axe of the common executioner. Instead, he summoned an expert swordsman from Calais, France, to ensure a swift, clean end. On the morning of May 19th, 1536, Anne Boleyn walked to the scaffold within the Tower of London. Dressed in a grey damask gown, she addressed the small crowd of onlookers. She did not confess to the crimes she was accused of, but she also did not challenge the king. In her final moments, she played the part of the good and loyal subject, praising Henry's kindness. It was a final, strategic move to protect her daughter, Elizabeth. With one swift stroke of the French sword, the reign of Anne Boleyn was over. She was a queen for only 1,000 days. Within 24 hours of her execution, Henry VIII was formally betrothed to Jane Seymour. The court moved on, the secrets were buried, and a new queen took her place. So, what is Anne's true legacy? Was she a ruthless political operator who overplayed her hand, or a reformist queen brought down by a misogynistic court and a tyrannical husband? The truth, as it so often is likely somewhere in the middle. Anne was undeniably ambitious, intelligent, and sharp-witted. She navigated the dangerous Tudor court with skill, but she also made powerful enemies. Her downfall was a brutal combination of political maneuvering by Cromwell, the king's desperate desire for a male heir and a new wife, and a court culture that was all too willing to sacrifice a woman for the stability of the throne. Her greatest legacy, however, was the one she could never have foreseen. Her daughter, Elizabeth I, would one day take the throne and become one of England's greatest monarchs, proving that a woman could rule with as much strength and wisdom as any king. The story of Anne Boleyn serves as a stark reminder of the precarious nature of power and the dark, hidden currents that ran beneath the glittering surface of the Tudor court. Thank you so much for joining me on this journey back in time. The Tudor era is filled with so many incredible stories, and Anne's is one of the most compelling. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up and consider subscribing to the channel for more deep dives into history's most fascinating moments. Don't forget to hit that notification bell so you won't miss our next video. We'll see you next time.